The salvager's discovery. The warning lights in Raven Blackwood's cockpit flashed an angry red as her ship, the Starcrow, drifted through the debris field. The remnants of what appeared to be an ancient battle stretched for kilometers in every direction, creating a graveyard of twisted metal and frozen dreams. Raven adjusted her neural interface, the silver implant at her temple gleaming as it connected with the ship's systems. Status report, pitch, she called out to her ship's AI, named after the darkness of space itself. Radiation levels within acceptable parameters, Captain, pitch responded in its characteristic low tone. However, several anomalous energy signatures detected among the debris. Recommendation, proceed with caution. Raven smirked, brushing a lock of frost-white hair from her face. At 32, she'd spent more than half her life salvaging space debris, and if there was one thing she'd learned, it was that anomalous usually meant profitable. Plot me a course to the nearest signature, pitch. And keep the shields at maximum, I don't fancy getting pierced by any more random shrapnel today. The Starcrow's engines hummed to life, maneuvering through the field with practiced precision. Raven had modified the salvage vessel herself, stripping away unnecessary luxuries to make room for enhanced shields and a more powerful tractor beam. The ship's obsidian hull, designed to absorb rather than reflect sensor scans, had saved her more than once from both pirates and overzealous patrol ships. As they approached the energy signature, Raven's breath caught in her throat. There, spinning slowly in the void, was a cylindrical object unlike anything she'd ever seen. Its surface seemed to ripple with patterns that resembled flowing water, despite being clearly metallic. Pitch, analysis. Object appears to be approximately 3 meters in length, composed of unknown alloys. Internal cavity detected. Power source active but contained. Warning, design does not match any known species in database. Raven drummed her fingers on the console, considering her options. Unknown tech usually meant one of two things: either she was about to make the discovery of a lifetime, or she was about to get herself killed. The smart move would be to mark the location and sell the coordinates to one of the major research corporations. But Raven Blackwood hadn't survived this long by playing it safe. Deploy the tractor beam, pitch. Let's bring our mystery guest aboard. The beam engaged, bathing the cylinder in soft blue light. As it drew closer, the patterns on its surface began to pulse more rapidly, creating a hypnotic display that made Raven's head spin. She activated the cargo bay's containment field, standard procedure for potentially dangerous salvage. Captain, Pitch's voice carried a note of concern, the object's power signature is increasing exponentially. Raven was already moving, making her way to the cargo bay. She grabbed her particle pistol from its magnetic holster, more out of habit than any real expectation of needing it. The corridor lights flickered as she approached the bay doors, and she could feel the hair on the back of her neck standing up from the static electricity in the air. The cargo bay was bathed in an ethereal blue glow emanating from the cylinder, which now hovered in the center of the containment field. The patterns on its surface had accelerated to a blur, and a high-pitched whine filled the air. Pitch, prepare to vent the bay if. Before she could finish the command, the cylinder's surface suddenly became transparent. Raven's pistol clattered to the floor as she stared in shock at what lay within. Curled in a fetal position, surrounded by some kind of liquid suspension, was a humanoid figure. But what caught Raven's attention wasn't its general shape, it was the intricate patterns of bioluminescent markings that covered its pale skin, pulsing in sync with what appeared to be a heartbeat. Life signs detected, Pitch announced unnecessarily. Biological entity appears to be in suspended animation. Cellular degradation suggests approximately 300 years in stasis. Raven approached the cylinder cautiously, her heart pounding. The being inside appeared female, with features that were almost human but not quite. Her ears were slightly pointed, her fingers too long, and there was a certain symmetry to her face that seemed too perfect to be natural. Can we safely open it? Raven asked, already knowing she probably shouldn't. Unknown. However, the stasis field appears to be failing. My calculations suggest the occupant will emerge from suspension within the next 30 minutes, regardless of our intervention. Raven ran her hands through her hair, weighing her options. She could try to find a buyer quickly, but that would mean risking the occupant's life if the stasis field failed during transit. She could turn the cylinder over to the authorities, but that would mean losing any potential profit, and possibly facing questions about her salvaging license that she'd rather avoid. Or she could wait and see what emerged from this ancient cocoon. Pitch, lock down all systems except life support and emergency propulsion. Route all available power to medical bay and cargo containment. And get me everything you can find about similar discoveries in the past 3 decades. Acknowledged. Would you like me to compose your will while I'm at it? Raven smiled despite herself. She'd programmed Pitch's personality herself, modeling it after her own sardonic nature. Just keep the engines warm in case we need to make a quick exit. The next 28 minutes were among the longest of Raven's life. She watched as the cylinder's surface became increasingly transparent, revealing more details about its occupant. The being's clothing appeared to be made of some kind of metallic fabric that shifted colors like oil on water. A pendant hung around her neck, featuring a symbol Raven didn't recognize, 3 intersecting circles with what looked like writing along their edges. When the change finally came, it happened quickly. The cylinder's surface simply vanished, leaving its occupant suspended in a field of pure energy for a brief moment before that too disappeared. Raven barely managed to catch the alien woman as she collapsed forward, her skin still glowing with those strange patterns. The alien's eyes snapped open, revealing irises that swirled with colors like distant nebulae. She gasped, clutching at Raven's shoulders with surprising strength, and spoke in a voice that seemed to echo in Raven's mind as much as her ears. The harvest is coming. We must warn them all. Awakening. The alien woman's grip on Raven's shoulders tightened as she tried to stand, her bioluminescent markings pulsing erratically. Raven supported her weight, noting how unnaturally light she felt despite her human-like size. Easy there, Raven said, activating her neural interface. Pitch, medical scan. Scanning, the AI responded. Subject appears humanoid but with significant biological differences. Detecting elevated neural activity and unusual energy signatures throughout the cellular structure. The alien's swirling eyes focused on Raven, and suddenly a wave of images flooded her mind, massive ships darkening skies, worlds turning to ash, and countless beings fleeing into the void. Raven stumbled, nearly dropping her mysterious guest. I am Lyra, the alien spoke, her voice now matching her lips rather than echoing in Raven's mind. Time, how long? According to my ship's readings, you've been in stasis for about 300 years, Raven answered, helping Lyra to sit on a nearby cargo container. I'm Raven Blackwood, and you're aboard my salvage ship, the Starcrow. Lyra's markings flared bright blue. 300? No, it was supposed to be 50 at most. The calculations. She tried to stand again but swayed dangerously. Medical bay first, Raven insisted. Then we can discuss whatever harvest you're worried about. As they made their way through the corridor, Raven noticed how Lyra's eyes darted to every piece of technology they passed, her expression growing increasingly troubled. In the medical bay, she refused to lie on the scanning bed until Pitch explained each procedure in detail. Your technology, Lyra said as the scanner hummed above her, it's so primitive. Basic quantum manipulation, minimal AI integration, no psychic interfaces at all. This is wrong. We had calculated that humanity would be ready by now. Raven leaned against the wall, crossing her arms. Ready for what, exactly? The harvest. Lyra sat up, her markings dimming to a soft purple. They are ancient, powerful, and they consume civilizations. My people, the Luminari, discovered them too late. We watched them systematically destroy thousands of worlds, absorbing all technology and knowledge into their collective. And now they're coming here? Raven asked, trying to keep the skepticism from her voice. They are already here. Lyra's voice trembled. In the void between your stars, gathering strength. We sent hundreds of warnings to developing civilizations, hoping to prepare them. I was supposed to arrive when humanity had achieved at least Class 3 technological integration. With your current level, you have no chance of survival. Pitch's voice interrupted, Captain, detecting multiple ships entering the debris field. Configuration matches Galactic Defense Force patrol vessels. Raven cursed under her breath. The GDF took a dim view of unauthorized salvage operations, especially those involving potentially dangerous artifacts or aliens. How long until they're in scanning range? Approximately 6 minutes. Lyra stood, her movements now more steady. We cannot let them find me. Your authorities are not ready for what I must share. The knowledge alone could doom your species. What do you mean? Raven asked, already moving toward the bridge. The harvest is attracted to technological advancement and unusual energy signatures. If humanity becomes aware of the threat and begins preparing too aggressively, it will only draw them here faster. We must be subtle, strategic. Raven reached the bridge and dropped into the pilot's chair, her fingers dancing across the controls. Pitch, plot us a course out of here. Use the debris field for cover and engage stealth systems. Course plotted. However, Captain, I feel compelled to point out that harboring an unknown alien life form and evading GDF patrols are serious offenses. Noted, Raven replied dryly. Lyra, strap in. This might get rough. As the Starcrow began maneuvering through the debris field, Lyra placed her hand on the ship's console. Her markings glowed bright gold, and suddenly the ship's engines hummed with increased power. I have temporarily improved your propulsion efficiency, she explained, answering Raven's startled look. The less energy we emit while escaping, the better. The next few minutes were tense as Raven guided them through the field, using larger pieces of debris to mask their signature. The GDF ships swept the area with scan beams, but the Starcrow's enhanced stealth systems, combined with whatever Lyra had done, kept them hidden. Once they were safely away, Raven engaged the autopilot and turned to her unusual passenger. All right, you've got my attention. But if we're going to help save humanity, I need to know everything, starting with what exactly the Luminari were, and why you chose to warn us in the first place. Lyra's markings shifted to a deep blue. The Luminari are beings of both energy and matter. We evolved alongside technology, incorporating it into our very essence. We thought ourselves invincible until the harvest found us. She touched the pendant at her neck. This contains the last memories of my world. We were billions. Now, as far as I know, I am all that remains. I'm sorry, Raven said softly, recognizing the pain in Lyra's voice. Do not apologize. Help me ensure humanity does not share our fate. Lyra's eyes swirled with determination. But first, we need to find the others. Others? I was not the only warning sent. There were 12 of us, scattered across your galaxy. If I awakened early, they may have as well. Some may have already made contact with humanity, working in secret to prepare for what comes. Raven sighed, already knowing she would regret her next words. Where do we start looking? We follow the echoes, Lyra replied, her markings beginning to pulse with a steady rhythm. My people left signs that only we can detect. But we must hurry, I fear we are not the only ones searching. Hidden pursuers. The Starcrow drifted silently through the asteroid belt of the Helio system, its systems running on minimal power. In the dim light of the bridge, Lyra's bioluminescent markings cast shifting patterns across the walls as she meditated, searching for traces of her people's signals. Raven watched her unusual passenger while pretending to focus on the ship's diagnostics. Over the past week, she'd learned to read Lyra's markings like a mood ring: gold for concentration, blue for sadness, purple for worry. Right now, they were flickering between deep red and black, colors she hadn't seen before. "Something's wrong," Raven said. It wasn't a question. Lyra's eyes snapped open, the swirling colors within them moving faster than usual. "The signals, they're corrupted. Changed." She stood, moving to the main viewport. "3 of my people reached this system. Their beacons are active, but the patterns are wrong. Twisted." "Captain," Pitch interrupted, detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the larger asteroids ahead. "Similar to the stasis pod's signature, but degraded." Raven's hand moved instinctively to the pistol at her hip. "Define degraded." Before Pitch could respond, the ship's sensors exploded with alerts. 3 objects burst from behind nearby asteroids, cylindrical pods identical to the one Lyra had emerged from, but their surfaces were cracked and dark, seeping what looked like black lightning into space. "No," Lyra whispered, her markings pulsing rapid red. "They found them. The harvest found them and changed them." The pods accelerated toward the Star Crow, the dark energy surrounding them reaching out like hungry tentacles. Raven threw the ship into a spiral, narrowly avoiding the first grasp of that terrible darkness. "Pitch, full power to engines and weapons," she shouted, but Lyra grabbed her arm. "No. Energy weapons will only make them stronger. They feed on power, on technology. That's how they corrupt, how they turn us into them." Her voice broke on the last word. The ship rocked as one of the dark tendrils grazed their hull. Warning lights flashed as systems began to fail, a creeping blackness spreading across the displays. "Those were your people in those pods?" Raven asked, manually adjusting their course to dodge another attack. "Were," Lyra confirmed grimly. "Now they are extensions of the harvest. They seek to corrupt or destroy any warning beacons they find, and to capture or kill any uncorrupted luminari." Her markings suddenly blazed white. "I can stop them, but you must trust me." Raven looked at her newfound companion, this being of light and energy who had turned her life upside down in just a week. "What do you need?" "Turn off everything. All power, all systems, even life support. 10 seconds of absolute darkness." Another impact rocked the ship. The blackness had spread to cover half their systems. Pitch's voice came through with increasing static, hull integrity at 60%. "Unknown energy signature infiltrating primary systems." Raven took a deep breath. "Pitch, execute complete shutdown on my mark." She looked at Lyra. "This better work." 3 seconds after shutdown, "Close your eyes," Lyra instructed, her entire body beginning to glow brighter than Raven had ever seen. The corrupted pods were closing in, their dark energy reaching for the Star Crow like grasping hands. "Mark." Everything went dark. The hum of engines, the beep of sensors, even the subtle vibration of life support, all ceased. In the perfect darkness, Raven counted, 1, 2, 3. She closed her eyes just as Lyra erupted with light. Even through closed eyelids, the flash was nearly blinding. Raven felt a wave of pure energy wash over her, through her, carrying with it emotions that weren't her own: grief, determination, rage, hope. The ship shuddered violently, and for a moment Raven feared they'd been torn apart. Then, silence. "Power restored," Pitch announced as systems came back online. "Unknown energy signatures neutralized. However." "Captain, you should see this." Raven opened her eyes. Where the corrupted pods had been, there was now only debris, fragments of ancient metal floating lifelessly in space. And in the center of the bridge lay Lyra, her markings barely glowing at all. "Lyra." Raven rushed to her side, cradling her head. What did you do? Purged the corruption, Lyra whispered, her voice weak. Had to destroy the vessels, free their essence. Could not let the harvest use them. Her markings flickered faintly. Need time to recover. But Raven. Her swirling eyes fixed on Raven's face with desperate intensity. Now you understand. This is what we face. The harvest doesn't just destroy. It corrupts. Changes. Makes you a part of itself. Raven nodded slowly, the full weight of what they were facing finally sinking in. This wasn't just about survival. This was about maintaining humanity's very essence against a force that would twist them into something unrecognizable. Rest, she told Lyra, helping her to a more comfortable position. Pitch, set course for the Outer Rim trading post. We need supplies, information, and probably some better weapons. The trading post is known for illegal tech deals and questionable information brokers, Pitch noted. Perfect for our currently illegal activities. We're past worrying about legality, Raven replied, watching Lyra's markings slowly strengthen from a bare flicker to a soft purple glow. Right now, we need to find the other Luminari before the harvest does. And we need to figure out how to warn humanity without drawing attention from either the authorities or the enemy. As the Starcrow changed course, Raven couldn't help but notice that the dark energy had left faint scars on their hull, patterns that seemed to shift and move when you weren't looking directly at them. She had a feeling they weren't the only scars this journey would leave behind. Breaking trust. The Outer Rim trading post hung in space like a tarnished coin, its rotating rings casting long shadows across the Starcrow's hull. Raven guided her ship toward one of the less reputable docking bays, where fewer questions would be asked about her unusual passenger. Your markings, she said to Lyra, who stood beside her chair. Can you dim them completely? Lyra's bioluminescent patterns faded until they were barely visible. I cannot maintain this for long. It is uncomfortable. 2 hours, tops, Raven promised, engaging the docking clamps. My contact here, Jarrick, deals in information. If anyone knows about unusual energy signatures or mysterious artifacts from the past few months, it's him. They made their way through the crowded corridors of the trading post, Lyra wrapped in a hooded cloak. The station buzzed with activity, merchants hawking questionable goods, mercenaries looking for work, and the occasional GDF patrol trying to maintain some semblance of order. Jarrick's establishment, ironically named The Clean Deal, was tucked away in a corner of the station's gray market sector. The door slid open to reveal a dimly lit room filled with holographic displays showing various news feeds and market prices. Raven Blackwood, a smooth voice, called out. Still flying that junk heap you call a ship? Jarrick emerged from behind a data terminal, his cybernetic eyes whirring as they focused on the newcomers. The information broker was more machine than man these days, with chrome-plated limbs and neural processors visible beneath his transparent skull plate. The Starcrows got it where it counts, Raven replied, careful to keep Lyra slightly behind her. We need information, Jarrick. Private conversation. His cybernetic eyes flickered. Suite 3 is clean. 50 credits for 10 minutes. Once inside the private room, Raven got straight to business. We're looking for unusual energy signatures, specifically anything matching this pattern. She displayed a hologram of the readings from Lyra's pod. Jarrick's processors hummed as he analyzed the data. Interesting. Very interesting. I've seen something similar. 3 months ago, a salvage crew picked up what they thought was space debris. Next day, their ship was found drifting. Crew missing, systems corrupted by some kind of energy virus. Lyra stiffened beside Raven. Another corrupted pod. Any other incidents? Raven asked. 2 more confirmed cases. And rumors. Jarrick leaned forward, his voice dropping. Rumors of a secret GDF facility in the Nexus sector. They're collecting these energy signatures, studying them. And they're not alone. Something else is out there, watching, waiting. My best customers are paying premium rates for any information about unusual tech or energy patterns. Raven felt Lyra's hand grip her arm in warning. They needed to leave. One more thing, Jarrick said as they stood. Someone's been asking about you, Raven. Military types. Very interested in your recent salvage activities. They hurried back through the station, taking indirect routes and doubling back to check for tails. But as they approached their docking bay, Raven's neural interface buzzed with an urgent message from Pitch. Captain, multiple GDF vessels have docked. Armed personnel are approaching the Starcrow. And, there's something else. Energy readings similar to the corrupted pods, but larger. Much larger. They ducked into a maintenance corridor as a squad of GDF troops marched past. Lyra's markings were pulsing rapidly now, her control slipping. They're here, she whispered. The Harvest sent an avatar. It must have detected my energy pulse during the battle. How bad? If it finds me, it will not only corrupt me but will gain access to all my knowledge. Including the locations of the remaining uncorrupted Luminari. Raven checked her pistol charge and pulled up the station's maintenance schematics on her neural interface. There's another way to the docking rings through the recycling system. We can. No. Lyra's voice was firm. I must surrender. Like hell you will. Listen to me, Raven. Lyra gripped Raven's shoulders, her eyes swirling with intense colors. The Harvest cannot access a dead Luminari's memories. If I corrupt myself with a specific energy pulse, I can destroy my knowledge while sending out a warning to the others. There has to be another way. The GDF cannot be allowed to study me or my pod. The knowledge would advance your technology too quickly, draw the Harvest's full attention before you're ready. Her markings began to glow brighter. I need you to promise me something. Lyra, don't. Find the others. Tell them about the corrupted ones. And when the time comes, help them prepare humanity, but slowly, carefully. She pressed her pendant into Raven's hand. This contains more than just memories now. It contains hope. Before Raven could respond, Lyra's markings flared blindingly bright. She stepped back, her form beginning to shimmer with energy. Thank you, my friend, for showing me that humanity's heart is ready, even if its technology is not. Lyra, wait. But she was already moving, her body becoming pure light as she rushed toward the approaching GDF troops. Raven watched in horror as Lyra's energy signature suddenly inverted, her light becoming darkness for a split second before she exploded in a cascade of pure energy. The blast knocked out power to half the station. In the chaos that followed, Raven made her way back to the Starcrow, her hand clutched tightly around Lyra's pendant. As they broke away from the station, she saw something massive and dark moving among the shadows of the outer ring. The avatar of the Harvest, denied its prize. Pitch, she said, her voice rough. Set course for the coordinates in Lyra's pendant. We've got work to do. As the Starcrow jumped to hyperspace, Raven finally allowed herself to cry, the pendant's soft glow providing the only light on the bridge. The final choice. 3 months after Lyra's sacrifice, the Starcrow hovered at the edge of known space. Raven stood on the bridge, Lyra's pendant glowing softly against her chest as she studied the holographic display showing 9 points of light, 9 found Luminari, scattered across the galaxy. 2 corrupted, 4 in hiding, and 3 now working with her, carefully guiding humanity's technological development away from paths that would draw the Harvest's attention. Incoming transmission, Pitch announced. It's Director Wells. Raven took a deep breath. Put her through. The hologram of Director Tessa Wells, head of the secret task force Raven had helped establish, flickered to life. Ms. Blackwood, the GDF is getting suspicious. 3 major tech companies have mysteriously lost their quantum computing research data. 2 weapons development facilities have experienced accidental setbacks. They're starting to see a pattern. Good. Raven touched the pendant absently. The slower humanity's technological progress, the better our chances. There's more, Wells continued. Our deep space probes detected something massive entering the galaxy's outer rim. The energy signature matches what you showed us from the trading post incident. Raven's hand tightened on the pendant. The Avatar is still hunting. We need to consider the possibility that slowing our progress isn't enough. The harvest is coming, ready or not. Perhaps we should. No. Raven's voice was firm. Lyra sacrificed herself to prevent exactly what you're suggesting. If we rush our development, if we try to match them technologically, we'll only draw more of them here faster. Then what do you suggest? Because right now, we're essentially sabotaging our own species' advancement on the word of a few aliens we barely understand. The pendant suddenly pulsed warm against Raven's skin. She had learned to recognize these pulses, Lyra's memories reaching out to her. In her mind, she saw flashes of ancient battles, of civilizations that had tried to fight the harvest with technology, only to be corrupted and absorbed. But she also saw something else, something she had glimpsed in the memories before but never fully understood until now. The Luminari hadn't been just energy and technology, they had been something more, something the harvest couldn't fully corrupt. Director, Raven said slowly, what if we've been thinking about this wrong? The harvest corrupts technology, yes, but that's not what they're really after. They want consciousness, awareness, the spark that makes us what we are. Technology is just the means they use to get it. Your point? We've been so focused on slowing down our technological progress that we've neglected our greatest weapon, our humanity itself. Raven began pacing, the idea taking shape. The Luminari who survived, who resisted corruption, they didn't do it through superior technology. They did it through connection, through understanding something the harvest couldn't corrupt. Wells leaned forward. Go on. We need to develop differently. Not slower, but sideways. Instead of quantum computers, we develop organic computing. Instead of AI, we explore consciousness transfer. We build technology that's an extension of our humanity, not a replacement for it. The harvest won't expect that, a new voice said. One of the Luminari, Ven, materialized on the bridge, his green markings pulsing with excitement. They corrupt by separating technology from consciousness, by making it something that can be turned against you. But if the technology is part of your consciousness, they can't corrupt it without corrupting themselves, Raven finished. And they can't do that without losing their own essence. Wells was silent for a long moment. It's risky. We'll be developing in ways no one has tried before. Exactly. Raven smiled. And that's the most human thing we can do. The pendant pulsed again, and this time Raven felt something she had never experienced in Lyra's memories before, hope. Not just for survival, but for victory. Over the next year, Raven and her unlikely alliance of humans and Luminari worked in secret, guiding humanity down a new path. They developed technologies that were more organic than mechanical, more intuitive than programmatic. They taught humanity to see technology not as a tool, but as an extension of themselves. When the harvest finally came in force, they found not a civilization scrambling to match their power, but one that had become something entirely new. Humanity had not just advanced, they had evolved, creating a synthesis of consciousness and technology that the harvest couldn't corrupt without destroying themselves. Standing on the bridge of the Starcrow, watching the massive harvest ships approach Earth, Raven touched the pendant one last time. Thank you, Lyra, she whispered. You showed us the way, not by telling us to be less, but by helping us become more. The pendant pulsed warmly in response, and for just a moment, Raven thought she saw a familiar pattern of lights dancing in the darkness of space, a reminder that sometimes, the best way to fight the darkness is not with more darkness, but with a different kind of light. As humanity prepared to face its greatest challenge, Raven knew that win or lose, they would face it as themselves. And in the end, that was what Lyra had been trying to teach them all along. The power to resist corruption lay not in the strength of their shields or the force of their weapons, but in the indomitable spirit of what made them human. The harvest had come expecting to find prey. Instead, they found equals who had learned to evolve without losing themselves. And in that discovery lay the seeds of their own transformation.